Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video here on the channel. We are on week 21. Fantastic. Just excellent. Love how fast this year is going. It's absolutely perfect. But that being said, I have done a fair amount of reading since the last time we spoke, so without further ado, let's talk through what I have read, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to be reading, because that's the concept of this series. I actually finished six things since last time we spoke, which is pretty darn impressive after a few weeks of not really reading anything, so let me tell you all about them. First up, I finished the audiobook of The Memory Librarian. This was sent to me for review. I very much enjoyed it. I think this is a really fantastic collection of short stories. I think there's probably maybe 5 or 6 stories. They're quite long, and they're all set in the world of Dirty Computer, which is Janelle Monáe's album, or one of their albums, which is a fantastic album. One second, the dog is coming to greet us. I thought this was wonderful. I thought it was really well written. I don't know how much of that's because I was listening to it. I tend to absorb things differently listening to it rather than reading it on the page. But that's by the by. I thought it was great. Kind of dystopian, looking at authority, looking at rebellion, looking at kind of intersections of race and gender and identity and feminism. And it was really, really good. I would recommend. I enjoyed it greatly. If you have been wondering about whether to read it or not, I would say go for it. I don't think it's particularly long. I ended up quite enjoying that. I think I gave that 4.5 stars. There you go. There you go. Then I finished the sequel to Marauder, which I talked about last week. I finished Palm, which is the second book in the World of Lunaria series. I enjoyed this. I think Marauder is a stronger book just in the kind of main arc of the plot. There's a lot of, I think, setting up things for the third book. You know how sometimes in big epic fantasy you get first book to get you hooked, second book to set up the next big bad. And that's kind of how this felt. I don't think that's bad by any means, it just meant it felt less strong and cohesive as a book, and I'm excited to read the follow-up. It's under my butt. Amara, which is the third book, and is slightly longer, so this week's going to be interesting. Very readable fantasy, shape changes, a lot of the same stuff. If you liked Marauder, you would like this kind of thing. I then did my reread of Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett because I am reading the whole series. I will come on to Shorefall in just a moment. I love this. This is one of my favourite books, I think. It just encompasses so many of the things that I really love. A cool magic system, lovable characters, heists, high stakes, fantasy. It's just good. It's just so good, and I would really recommend it if you haven't read it already. I think the biggest selling point of this is the magic system, where we have this idea of scribing, where you write things on other objects, and that convinces those other objects to be a slightly different thing to what they are. And it's kind of like coding, but it's not. And yes, it's just so readable. Like, this is just shy of 500 pages. We get right to 500 pages. And I read it in one evening because it's just so good. Loved it. And I will come on to where I'm at in the sequel in a moment. Next, I read Animorphs 36. This is a weird one. I'm very excited to film the video for that, which will be out mid-June. Are we excited? I'm excited. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. Then I finished Dune. There we go. It's done. I was going to make a whole video on this. I haven't decided if I'm going to, so this might be all you get, because honestly, this was fine. I did look into some of the kind of controversy surrounding Dune, some of the things that date it quite a bit more, and I completely agree with a lot of the issues of white saviorism and such in this, and I don't really want to get into that here. That's maybe why I should make another video on it, but it's difficult. My overwhelming feeling was that this was perfectly fine, and it was actually very readable. I don't know if that's because I went in expecting it to be really difficult to get through, but actually it was fine. And the plot was good, but nothing particularly special to report, you know? And I think potentially that's the problem of reading such a classic of the genre so many years after it's been a classic and so many different things have been influenced by it. My takeaway was I've read better sci-fi than this. Personally, for me, the things that I enjoy in sci-fi aren't necessarily in this book. Doesn't mean I think that everyone who loves Dune is foolish for doing so. I can see why they do. Just for me, I was like, okay, I've read that now. And maybe the other books in the series are absolutely mind-blowing. I don't particularly intend on finding out. I liked elements of the story. I like this edition. I can now say I've read Dune. That was really my overwhelming conclusion was now I don't ever have to read that again because I've read it now, you know? Not the best selling point, I'm sorry. And then yesterday, it must have been the day before, I finished This Vicious Grace, which I wasn't expecting to be how it was. I think I'm going to put up, this is the cover that the UK edition has, and this is the cover of the US edition, and I think the US edition is much, much better because it captures this kind of very, very Italian inspired, to the point where I think it's just Italy, like they speak Italian at times, and there's lots of lemons and limoncello and so such in there. All of that captured. I liked this. I don't think I would be recommending it to everyone in the world. I would say it reminded me a lot of Sarah J. Maas for so many reasons. It puts a little bit more thought into things than I feel like the Court of Thorn and Roses books do, but it's still kind of quite silly in a lot of ways. What I liked about it was it's a fantasy setting where there is this concept of like two people in a pairing have to defend the land from a whole bunch of demons. But the book sets up that those people don't have to be in a romantic pairing. It isn't a case that one is always a boy and one is always a girl. It's not the case of they all have to be in different gender pairings. There's lots of options, and I liked that that was put in. It felt like some thought was put into it, and it wasn't just like heteronormative nonsense, as many books are. And I think if this book had been published maybe 10 years ago, it would have just have been, there is always a woman and a man and they always date and that's how it works. And this was different from that, which I appreciated, but in a lot of ways it was a very standard YA, I must defend my land, but also, gosh, there's this handsome stranger, how interesting, you know, that kind of thing. Would I recommend it? I'd recommend it if that kind of thing excites you. If that kind of thing makes you go, oh yeah, I want to read that, then go for it. If that's the kind of thing that makes you roll your eyes fully to the back of your head to the point where you can see the inside of your brain, maybe skip that one. Just skip, it's fine, but I had a good time. I am in the middle of 2 things at the moment. I should probably be in the middle of more things, but I'm not. As I say, started Shorefall. This is the sequel to Foundryside. I've had this on my shelf since Christmas, and I'm so excited to finally be getting to it. I am 166 pages in. I'm just at the start of chapter 15, and it's so good. It's so good. I don't want to do anything else in my day. I just want to read this. I like that the stakes have been made even higher, and we've got more scribing, more of that magic system that I love, and the characters are great. And yes, I'm excited to keep going with this. I don't think I'm far enough in to go, I like Foundryside more or I like this more. I'm enjoying it, and I like this idea of setting up such a great magic system that you kind of start playing with a bit more in book 1 and then fully playing with it in book 2. Yes, it's good. And then a little bit earlier than I intended, because I needed an audiobook, I've started the Sword of Kaigen. Now, I had started this in the past. I got to page 140, which I know because there is a bookmark in the book. I don't think I've quite caught up with myself in the audiobook yet, but I'm close and I'm really enjoying it. This is a really great book. I'm going to talk about it more when I've read some more of it and absorbed more of the audiobook, but I thought I'd let you know that I'd started. So the rest of this week I mentioned Amara. I'm going to be reading that. That's the 3rd book in World of Lunaria, and Shorefall I've got to finish, and then I've got my last book, which is also a piece of book mail that I received. I received an art copy of Mother Gothel by Mary McMine. McMinn? I'm going to guess McMine though. About how I literally am looking at the book cover and I still say the name of the book wrong while looking and it came with this, I think what is a book plate to go into it, which is, everyone knows the story of Rapunzel in the tower, but do you know the story of the witch who put her there? So this is obviously fairy tale retelling-y, and I think a reimagining of Rapunzel from the witch's perspective, perfect for fans of Circe and the Bear and the Nightingale, both of which I am a fan of. I'm going to try and read this week, and I'm excited to talk about it with you afterwards. I also need to read Animorphs 37 because I'm trying to get far ahead of myself enough for Animorphs August this year so I can just generally stay on top of them so I don't have the same breakdown I had after Animorphs April. It'll be fine. I'm enjoying reading them. I'm at a very weird phase of the series, but I'm keeping going with that. In terms of new releases, I only have one on my list this week, and it is Hide by Kirsten White. As you all know, I love a lot of Kirsten White's writing. I haven't pre-ordered this, and I haven't really dug into it because I'm not sure if this kind of thrillery thing is what I'm interested in. I might see what Justine has thought of it, and then I'll go from there, because I trust her judgment. And nothing Kirsten White has written has been as good to me as what's it called? This one. Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein and the Conqueror's Saga. Both of those are my absolute favourites, and she's not written anything that's topped them for me. I came down on really not liking the Camelot, Guinevere, all of that stuff. It wasn't particularly good, in my opinion, so we'll see. But that is out now if you were interested in reading that. I thought I had enough battery to do the outro, but it would seem I did not. It's been a good week so far, actually. I've got a lot done. I've got a lot of work things ticked off my list. I feel like my to-do list is back in order. I'm just feeling positive. I've still got 5 videos left to film this week, which I don't 100% know when I'm going to get to, and I'm going to try my darndest to get to them. And a lot of reading as well, but all of it I'm excited to do. And yeah, I'm just feeling on top of things. So let it be known that at least this week 21 of the year, I was on top of things, in case it never happens again for the rest of the year. What about you? Are you reading anything exciting? Are you doing anything exciting? Let me know down in the comments below. Have you read Dune? Do you have opinions? I would love to hear them, because I feel like I should have more opinions than the opinions that I have. Plonk all of that information down in the comments below. If you haven't already, while you're commenting, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated, and it lets you know when all of these new exciting videos will be coming out. Nothing makes me feel more loved and appreciated than my patrons over on Patreon, who make videos like this possible, support the channel, and get access to exclusive content and early access to most of my videos. So if you would like to join their number, that's linked below, as well as my social media, if you feel like following that, or my Discord, if you want to come have lovely chill chats about books. I'm getting slightly better at being on Discord now I have a new phone. It's all good. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Excuse me, Luna, could we not futz around with things right now?